Get ready to fuel your nightmares with 3 bone-chilling gas station horror stories that will leave you questioning the safety of your next pit stop. In this video, we bring you first-hand accounts from gas station workers who encountered the supernatural in the dead of night. Brace yourself for a thrilling journey into the darkness as we uncover the unexplained, the sinister, and the terrifying. These true tales will make you think twice before stepping foot into a gas station after sunset. Are you ready to face the horrors that lurk in the shadows? Get ready, because these gas station horror stories will send shivers down your spine. Number 1. I remember it vividly, that eerie night when I found myself in the midst of a bone-chilling encounter at a desolate gas station. The wind howled relentlessly, casting an unsettling aura over the darkened town as I pulled into the station, my gas gauge dangerously close to empty. The flickering fluorescent lights above the pumps offered little solace, their intermittent glow adding an eerie touch to the abandoned scene. A shiver ran down my spine as I stepped out of the car and into the biting cold. The air felt heavy with an unspoken presence, an invisible weight that seemed to follow my every move. As I approached the worn-out store, a sense of foreboding washed over me. The door creaked open with a haunting creak, revealing a dimly lit interior, long forgotten by time. Dust-covered shelves lined the walls, their contents obscured by the years of neglect. I could almost taste the stale air that hung heavy in the silence. As I ventured further into the store, a creeping unease settled in the pit of my stomach. The faint sound of my footsteps echoed through the empty aisles, accompanied by an ominous silence. It felt as if I had stepped into a realm untouched by the living, where only whispers of the past dared to linger. Suddenly, a flickering light above me caught my attention. I looked up, only to witness the fluorescent bulbs dancing in erratic patterns, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, and a chill ran down my spine. I could sense that I was not alone in this ghostly realm. A cold gust of wind blew through the store, extinguishing the remaining lights, leaving me in a pitch-black abyss. Panic surged through me as I fumbled for my flashlight, my trembling hands struggling to find the switch. The feeble beam pierced through the darkness, revealing a haunting scene. Whispers filled the air, disembodied voices that seemed to echo from all directions. I strained to decipher the words, but they were ethereal and elusive, carrying a weight of sorrow and longing. Each step I took was accompanied by the echo of my own racing heartbeat, a constant reminder of the fear that consumed me. As I made my way through the aisles, the shadows seemed to dance and shift, taking on unnatural forms. The store's forgotten items, now covered in dust and cobwebs, appeared as relics of a forgotten time. A feeling of desperation washed over me, urging me to escape this spectral realm and return to the safety of the outside world. Finally, I reached the exit, my heart pounding in my chest. As I flung open the door and stepped into the cold night, I glanced back one last time. In the flickering glow of the distant streetlights, I caught a glimpse of a figure standing by the gas pumps, their presence haunting and ethereal. I sped away from that forsaken gas station, the memory of that ghostly encounter forever etched in my mind. The supernatural realms had intertwined with the realm of the living, reminding me of the thin veil that separates our world from the unknown. And from that night onward, I would forever approach gas stations with caution, aware that even the most mundane places can hold secrets that defy explanation. Number 2. I still get chills down my spine whenever I recall the harrowing night I spent at a secluded gas station. It was a desolate stretch of road, surrounded by dense woods that seemed to swallow the feeble glow of the streetlights. As I pulled into the gas station, the feeling of unease settled in my bones, but I brushed it off as mere imagination. The station itself appeared ordinary at first glance, its worn-out sign flickering weakly in the night. I parked my car by the empty pumps and stepped out, greeted by an unsettling silence. The air was thick with an inexplicable heaviness, as if the very atmosphere held its breath in anticipation. As I walked towards the dimly lit store, the sound of my footsteps echoed through the eerie stillness. The creaking door swung open with a groan, revealing a scene straight out of a horror film. Dust-covered shelves lined the walls, their contents long forgotten and covered in cobwebs. The air inside was stale, filled with the scent of decay. I called out, but my voice seemed to get lost in the empty space. The only response was the low hum of the flickering lights above, casting eerie shadows on the walls. A knot formed in my stomach as I realized I was alone, trapped in this ghostly haven. As I cautiously made my way through the aisles, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The shelves seemed to shift and whisper, their echoes blending with the distant howling wind. I quickened my pace, desperate to find an exit from this nightmarish labyrinth. Suddenly, a piercing screech cut through the silence, making my heart skip a beat. I turned around to see a figure standing at the far end of the aisle. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. It felt as if time itself had frozen, and the air turned frigid around me. I tried to run, but my legs felt heavy, as if held in place by an invisible force. The figure moved closer, its ghostly presence sending waves of terror through my entire being. I could hear its faint whispers, filled with anguish and despair, seeping into my mind like poison. With every ounce of strength, I broke free from the paralysis and sprinted towards the exit. The sound of my own racing heartbeat drowned out the haunting whispers that pursued me. As I burst through the door and into the night, I gasped for breath, the cold air filling my lungs like a lifeline. I didn't dare look back as I sped away from that accursed gas station. The memory of that encounter haunts me to this day, a reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the realm of the supernatural. And whenever I pass by a deserted gas station on a lonely road, I can't help but wonder what lurks within the shadows, waiting to prey on unsuspecting souls. Number 3. Working the night shift at a remote gas station was never an easy task, but nothing could have prepared me for the bone-chilling encounter I had one fateful night. As the clock struck midnight, I settled behind the counter, bracing myself for the long and solitary hours ahead. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl and the occasional rustling of leaves outside. The dim fluorescent lights buzzed above, casting eerie shadows on the empty aisles. The solitude was suffocating, amplifying every creak and groan of the old building. It was then that I noticed a figure standing at one of the gas pumps, their presence sending a shiver down my spine. I called out, but they remained motionless, their face obscured by a hooded cloak. A sense of unease washed over me as I approached, my footsteps echoing through the empty station. As I neared, a gust of wind swept through, extinguishing the overhead lights, plunging the gas station into darkness. Panic surged through me, but before I could react, the figure vanished into thin air. My heart pounded in my chest as I fumbled for a flashlight, casting its feeble beam across the deserted station. The shelves seemed to come alive in the dim light, their contents appearing distorted and sinister. Whispers echoed from the empty aisles, whispers filled with longing and sorrow. I hesitated, unsure of whether to investigate or flee. But duty compelled me to press on, to uncover the truth behind this haunting presence. As I ventured deeper into the station, I stumbled upon an old storage room tucked away in a corner. The door creaked open, revealing a scene straight out of a nightmare. Dust-covered boxes and forgotten relics lined the shelves, their forgotten stories etched into the very fabric of the room. Suddenly, a chilling breeze swept through the room, extinguishing my flashlight. Darkness enveloped me, and I felt a presence closing in, its breath cold against my neck. The air grew thick with an indescribable terror as whispers surrounded me, their voices growing louder and more desperate. With trembling hands, I managed to relight my flashlight, illuminating a spectral figure hovering before me. Its eyes gleamed with a haunting glow, filled with a sorrow that pierced my soul. I couldn't tear my gaze away as it mouthed silent words, a plea for release from an eternal torment. Fear gripped me, and I turned to flee, but the door slammed shut with a force that shook the entire room. The whispers turned into anguished screams, echoing through the station, consuming my senses. I fought against the invisible barrier, desperately searching for an escape route. In a final surge of adrenaline, I broke free, rushing towards the exit. The door swung open, and I burst out into the night, gasping for air as the weight of the supernatural encounter lifted from my shoulders. The gas station, now bathed in moonlight, stood as a haunting reminder of the paranormal realm that lurks beneath the surface of our world. From that night on, the gas station held a different kind of darkness, its secrets forever etched into my memory. And as I continue my work at other stations, I can't help but wonder what spectral entities haunt the night, waiting for their stories to be heard and their restless souls to find peace.